Hello, my name is Catherine Brooke, and here's my final project for our video game history course. I wanted to answer the question if video games can be used for preserving and learning about natural history, so learning about nature. This is important to me because there's a lot of declining biodiversity and disappearing ecosystems in the world. They're sort of disappearing faster than we can record them, and video games seem like an excellent tool for recreating ecosystems and being able to explore what's in those ecosystems as a very hands-on way to teach about the organisms that you would find. So games already exist that are proven educational tools. Lots of video games will represent or simulate natural environments. Lots of like survival games and hunting games can do this. And there are lots of games that contain cataloging, even of natural history. Video games as educational tools, they're effective because they can provide information on demand or just in time. So as you're learning about something, you get the right amount of information for learning about the topic as you need at that time. You're not bombarded with information or given information out of context. So games show us that learning is fun. Guy, in his Learning by Design article, says that successful educational tools should empower learners. So they should be in charge of their learning experience, have the chance to apply problem solving, and through learning with what's provided, giving a greater understanding to the topic at hand. Natural environments in video games, already done. They're very beautiful. They're not necessarily real presence in video games, as discussed by Tamburini and Bowman. Video games are unique media in that the players can really feel present in the world as opposed to film, because they are a part of it. They have an avatar. They are given an a first-person perspective. So really this part of the question is quite evidently already there. Okay, so a major part of learning about biology through video gaming would be cataloging of information. So some games already do this, there's not a lot of it, not for real organisms, but for whatever information you're learning about, it's become quite popular for players to go online and create encyclopedias to contain all of this information. And so the game that I wanted to show was Stardew Valley, which encompasses a few of the characteristics I've talked about already, in that it has different ecosystems that you can explore. The environment is interactive. But a few other tool or qualities about it I thought were good for learning are that it has a simple interface and the game gives clear guidance about what you're supposed to do. It also has a compelling story that you can be a part of, which in this case you're a farmer, but if for my question, you could just as easily be a conservationist or a natural historian. But the nice thing about Stardew is that it already features a cataloging system. But here we are in a little game of Stardew that I've made for this purpose. So here is a little collection I've started of different organisms. You can see how it gives just a little bit of information about each item. But you can see it has a collections tab, so you can go and you can see what you've seen. You can see I have my avatar. I'm placed within the world, and we have some ecosystems to explore. So this is my farm. It's a forest farm, so it has lots of trees on it. Oh, actually, let's go back because right there, up in the corner, we have a wild dandelion that you can see with the plus. Clearly, I can pick this up. We have another ecosystem here. We're down at the beach. I can find clams at the beach. Here are the seagulls. There's some coral. So this is Stardew's Community Center, Pelican Town's Community Center, which I think is a good example of how goals could be included into a game about natural history. So in the community center, you have to give a certain number and certain types of items to complete goals that sort of bring the community center back to life, because clearly right now it's a little barren. And so if this were a game about natural history, yeah, easily we could put in real names of real organisms into these slots. So another feature about Stardew that I think would be good for this theoretical game is the community. So there's people in the community who have interests and can foster your interests. One set person here is Demetrius. He's a scientist, and he's often here working in his lab, studying specimens, and we'll talk to the player about organisms found within Stardew Valley. Another feature about Stardew Valley that would be useful for teaching is that it really does, it's a little bit hand-holdy, but it does guide you quite clearly on how to continue with the game. You'll often get mail, such as this one, that'll ask you to do things that sort of guide you in what step to take next. So fishing has a lot of potential in Stardew Valley for teaching the player about biology. When you go fishing, there's certain times, it's a dynamic experience. So at some times of day, you'll find some types of fish, and in certain locations as well, whether it's the river, the ocean, or lakes. The fun thing too is it creates a little mini game for catching your fish. So it's not just, clicking and reading, but then you get to try and catch your fish. Apparently this one's a little sinker. And it tells you when you catch your fish, how big it is. You can see here I'm standing in the middle of what seems to be a pine forest. Those look like pine trees to me. There's lots of ambience going on. It really feels, even though the art is a bit simplistic, it does feel like I'm standing in the middle of nature out here. So in conclusion, there are tools already available for teaching via video games. It's kind of impossible to play a video game and not learn something, but especially so as well for creating environment, since you really are placed within in an alternate reality. Essentially, when you play a video game, there is already huge potential for realistic environments, and I think that's only going to get better. And cataloging systems, which are necessary for learning about such fields as natural history, they're already there, and it's easy enough to improve on those. The technology we already know how to catalog. It's not that hard. It'd be pretty simple to implement it into a video game. E notes that the changing video gaming for learning purposes, the biggest obstacles are really just that we need to change the mindset of people that this is a valid tool for learning. The school system in North America especially, I think, is quite stuck in its ways. And no one wants to change, but people don't want to change this system. And it's a little outdated, especially with the tools that we have for learning opportunities. And here are the references for the 2 articles I used for making this presentation. And thanks for watching.